Most people will tell you that sales is both an art and a science. And they're right for the most part. There's definitely a creative, artistic element to sales, but then there's also a more process-oriented, repeatable, scientific part of it as well. But here's the thing, what exactly are those scientific elements that we can repeat and refine over time? And how can we learn more about them so we can improve the way that we go about sales regardless of what we sell? Don't worry guys, we're gonna address all those questions right now. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Danilo Caprick here, aka the best dressed man in tech sales. Don't forget it. And in this video, we're gonna break down the science of sales. That's right, we're gonna break down what are the repeatable scientific elements of sales that you can practice and refine over time so that no matter what you sell, you can improve your process and end up closing more deals. So with that said, guys, let's dive in. When it comes to the science behind selling, we're going to review 5 specific elements. And we're going to review these elements because these are applicable, repeatable elements that you will have to get through no matter what you sell, all right? And so the goal here is to give you a basic outline of the scientific components of sales that, again, if you master and refine over time, there will be nothing stopping you from closing deals and being able to influence your customers in a positive way. Element number 1, we need to identify one of 3 potential things, okay? The first thing, potentially, is we need to identify a need. Number 2, a strong desire to change. Or number 3, we need to identify a mandated outcome. All right, let me break each of these down in a little more detail. When it comes to identifying needs, think about it. There might be a need to stop losing customers, right? Because if a business loses customers, they're gonna go out of business. So they need to do that in order to survive. So that's just one example, but there can be so many needs across a business or an individual, right? Maybe there's a need for someone to have an insurance policy. Maybe there's a need for someone to have healthcare, right? But there could be all sorts of needs. But the first thing is we need to identify what kind of needs exist because that is going to determine whether or not we can help them and is there a viable problem that we can even address. Scientific element number 2. Okay, after we have identified a potential need or strong desire to change or a mandated outcome, what we need to do is we need to extract the existing belief that the prospect has about how they want to go about fulfilling that need, making that change, or producing that outcome. And the reason we need to do this is because whatever vision they have in their head that is the right solution, we want to understand how they're thinking about that. Because just imagine, let's say that you have, I don't know, I'm going to pick something very, very simple, but let's say your sprinklers are broken. In your head, you're probably going to have an idea for the best way to solve that. Maybe you're thinking, I'm going to call someone to fix it. Maybe you're like, I'm going to do it myself. Maybe there's some other way. But if somebody comes to you and they give you an idea about how to fix that stuff and it's completely opposite to the way that you were thinking about it, you're going to be more closed off to that idea. This is something called confirmation bias. In psychology, this philosophy exists where pretty much we are more willing to believe or to buy into ideas that already align with our existing beliefs, okay? So for that reason, we want to extract the existing belief that the prospect may have about how they're going to address this problem or need to change, so that way we can understand how radically different or not different our pitch or idea might be. And you want to do this because if the way that the prospect sees the solution aligns really well with the way that you are about to pitch a solution or your product or service, you're going to find it to be a much easier conversation and there's going to be much less resistance, right? Whereas if they share the way that they're thinking about this in solution terms and your solution is way different or total polar opposite, you might want to ask a few more questions or just hold off on pitching until you can be a little bit more sure that your prospect's going to be open to the idea. Because again, if your idea is radically different from the way they envision solving this, it's going to be an uphill battle and it's going to be more difficult for you to close. Scientific element number 3, once we have identified a need, strong desire to change, or the mandated outcome, and we extracted the existing belief for how they think they should go about that, now we need to ask them the simple question of, what's hard about that? And we need to ask this question or some variation of it because now that we understand the need, the desire to change, or the outcome, and how they want to go about producing that outcome, we need to understand what's stopping them from doing it themselves, right? Because they've already got a solution in mind, right? They know what they need to do. If there's no difficulty, no challenge with how they're going to do it, then they don't need us, right? So at this point, we need to identify the pain or the challenge or whatever is in their way in terms of getting this done. Because if we don't identify that, then we can't bring any value. We cannot effectively position our product or service, and we cannot help them at the end of the day if there is no problem or challenge to be solved. So this third element here is really about pain extraction. I like to ask the simple question of what's hard about that? What's stopping you from getting this done? What's going to be the hardest part associated with that? Whatever it is, right? But ask some variation of that question to extract pain so you can really make sure that there's something worth solving here. Scientific element number 4. Now that we have, again, identified the need, understood if there's a strong desire to change, or we found a mandated outcome, and we extracted that belief about how they're going to go about producing that outcome, and we understand what's hard about them doing it in their intended way, we now need to move on to the next step of understanding, are they open and welcome to receiving help? And the way that we do this is by repeating the challenge they just mentioned to us and just asking them, hey, if we could alleviate that or get that out of your way or remove that obstacle, whatever variation of language you want to use, would you be open to that? Would you be open to receiving help in that manner, right? And again, you can play with the question and the language here, but we basically want to ask them, hey, if we could remove that challenge for you, get that out of your way, make life easier, would you be open to working with us on that? And the reason this is one of the scientific elements is because this is where psychology and cooperation comes in, right? We, at this point on element number 4, we are getting their cooperation and agreement to partner together on alleviating some challenge, removing some blocker, and helping them see the end result that they want at the end of the day. Scientific element number 5. All right, once we've gone through the first 4 steps, what we need to do now is create a plan for how we are going to prove that our product or service or whatever we sell can actually manifest or produce the outcome that the prospect wants to see. In other words, how are we really going to prove to them that we can fulfill their need, help them make the change, or produce the mandated outcome they've been asked to produce? Depending on your industry, this might be in the form of a POV, proof of value, POC, proof of concept, whatever the acronym is in your industry, but we need to create a plan that's going to showcase how our product or service will actually help them create the intended result. And similar to step number 4, this is also a very scientific element because it's really about creating a cooperative plan where both parties agree to certain steps and they're both bought in because both parties want the end result, which for the salesperson would be partnership and closing a deal. For the prospect, that would be obviously alleviating their problem, helping them complete their internal objective. There you have it, guys. Those are the 5 scientific elements behind every sale. If you enjoyed the content today, please hit the subscribe button below. Also, if you're not doing so already, go ahead and follow me on LinkedIn. And last but not least, if you are trying to break into tech sales or you're already in sales and you want to level up your skills, differentiate yourself from other sellers in the marketplace, go ahead and check us out at the B2B Syndicate. See what we got cooking up over there. All right. With that said, guys, hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you all in the next video. Take it easy now.